All right, so Alphabet just closed the books on 2025, and wow, the numbers are absolutely wild. I mean, we're not just talking about growth here. They blew past a huge milestone that really changes how you think about their scale. So let's dive in and figure out exactly how they managed to pull off a year this big. Okay, let's just get right to the headline number, the big one. For the very first time, Alphabet's revenue for the whole year didn't just hit, it smashed through the $400 billion mark. Think about that for a second. That's more than $1 billion in revenue every single day. Wild. So that brings up the big question, right? How? How does a company that's already a giant, one of the biggest on the planet, somehow find another gear and actually speed up? That's the puzzle we're going to unpack. Okay, first stop. Let's put that $400 billion year into context. What does that kind of growth really look like compared to last year? So that 400 billion figure, it's not just a nice round number. It's a huge leap. They added more than $50 billion in revenue in just 1 year. That's a 15% jump from 2024. And you have to understand, for a company this massive, growing that fast it's like turning a giant container ship on a dime and strapping a rocket to it. It just doesn't usually happen. So where did all this power come from? Well, to get it, you have to start at the very heart of the company, the core engine. And that, of course, is Google Search. It's the OG, the cash machine that's been funding everything else for decades now. And here's the crazy part. You'd think it might be slowing down, right? Nope. It's actually hitting a whole new gear. Get this. In just the last 3 months of the year, search grew by a whopping 17%. That brought in over $63 billion. Let that sink in. A business that's been around for decades isn't just chugging along, it's accelerating. It's still one of the main drivers of their success. So, here's the key takeaway on this. Search is not some legacy product just sitting there. It's still a hyper-growth engine. It's the financial bedrock that pays for all the cool stuff, from cloud computing to all that futuristic AI research. All right, moving on from search, let's talk about the next massive pillar of growth. And that is, of course, the cultural and financial beast that is YouTube. You know, for the longest time, we all thought of YouTube as just an ad business, but that story has totally changed. It's evolved into this powerful two-headed monster, just firing on all cylinders with both ads and subscriptions. And you can really see the results of that strategy. YouTube's total revenue for the year, over $60 billion. But what's really amazing is that even with subscriptions taking off, the original ad business is still accelerating. It actually matched search's growth at 17% in the last quarter. Incredible. And speaking of that subscription engine, wow, is it becoming a powerhouse. If you look at all their services, like YouTube Premium and Google One, the company now has over 325 million paying subscribers. That is a huge, steady stream of recurring revenue. It's the kind of thing that helps smooth out the ups and downs you sometimes get in the ad business. Okay, so the core businesses are obviously rock solid, but honestly, the biggest story of the year, the real shocker, might be how Google Cloud transformed from this giant money pit into a major profit engine. For years, right, everyone talked about Google Cloud as the distant number 3 in the cloud wars. It was this huge investment that just seemed to burn through cash. Well, in 2025, that whole story just got flipped on its head. This is a story about pure explosive acceleration. Just look at the revenue growth. It says it all. In just 1 single year, Google Cloud's quarterly revenue doubled. It shot up from $12 billion to almost $24 billion by the end of 2025. Now, that kind of hockey stick growth is amazing, for sure. But believe it or not, that's not even the most important part of this story. No, the real headline for Cloud is profitability. It's operating margin, which is basically just how much profit they keep from every dollar they make. It nearly doubled. It jumped from 17.5% all the way up to over 30%. And that right there, that changes everything. It takes Google Cloud from being a super expensive project and turns it into a serious, legitimate profit engine for the whole company. Okay, so we've got all these different parts of the business running red hot. So what does all this mean for Alphabet's overall financial firepower? To figure that out, we need to talk about a little something called free cash flow. Look, to put it super simply, it's this.
After you pay all the bills and after you pay for all the necessary stuff like new data centers and offices, this is the pile of cash you have left over. It's maybe the best way to see how healthy and flexible a company really is.
So, what's the bottom line? For the full year 2025, Alphabet generated over $73 billion in free cash flow. Let me say that again. That's $73 billion in cash left over after they paid for everything they needed to run and grow this massive business. That is a staggering war chest for whatever they want to do next.
So why does that number matter so much? Because that cash flow, that is the fuel for the future. It's what lets them pour billions and billions into AI. It's what funds all those crazy moonshot projects, like self-driving cars. And it's what gives them the power to go out and buy another company if they want to get into a new market. And all of this leaves us with one final and pretty fascinating question. You have their core businesses, which are stronger than they've ever been. You have these new growth engines like cloud and subscriptions that are just firing on all cylinders. It means Alphabet is in an unbelievably powerful position. So the only real question left is, what on earth are they going to build next?